there, and welcome back to Cyber Triage Basics. Today we're going to be having a look at how you go about loading a logical file collection into Cyber Triage. The logic behind this is pretty straightforward. You've been using some sort of collection tool that is simply copying those key operating system files off a Windows system directory or system drive, and they are then going to be archived into a zip file or a VHD or whatever else that tool is using. You're then going to copy that package across to your Cyber Triage analysis system. You then have to unpack it into your sort of exhibits folder on your analysis system. Once that's done, you can point Cyber Triage at that folder and it's going to go through and pull out all those operating system artifacts as if it was working with a forensic image. So the key requirements here is that the folder structure that you've unpacked must be consistent with what you would find on a normal Windows system drive. So if, for example, here you have your incident host 1 as the root folder of that file system copy, then we would expect to see a Windows System32 config directory within that directory that you've pointed Cyber Triage to. And we'll have a bit of a look at that in the demo and see what happens when you try and point it to a location where those files don't exist. Now, with a file system copy, you have a number of limitations. Timestamps are not going to be accurate because those files have been copied around the place. Certainly if it's been saved to, say, a zip file only records a single timestamp with the files that are saved there. So you have lost that information. It also means, well, it's unlikely that you're going to have a body file, so you don't have any timestamps to rely on. The other consideration is that by unpacking that file, you're investigating a system that may have been compromised. It's entirely possible you are copying malware onto the disk. So in order to address that, two concerns. One, you may accidentally double click on an executable and launch it on your system. I have seen that happen in a forensic environment. It's not a good thing. Luckily, when I saw it happen, it was on an air-gapped network, so it could have been a lot worse. But it's always risky working with malware executables, obviously. The other thing is the AV software that you probably have running on your workstation is also likely to detect it, and then it's going to lock the files and quarantine them and everything else, which means they're no longer available for analysis. So a couple of considerations there. It's always preferable to use something like an EO1 file format, which is going to preserve those file system timestamps, and it's also a container that is going to prevent that malware from being executed by accident, and also protect it from the antivirus software that you've got running on your system. And also, obviously, there is no volatile data that's available. We've just copied the file system. We don't have any of that live information, current network connections, ports, listening ports, memory images, and so on that would be available if you'd actually done a live collection using Cyber Triage Collector. Use cases, I mean, it's pretty common that you see this in situations. Certainly when I was working as a consultant, it wouldn't be uncommon that we get customers trying to zip something up for us and sending that across. Or if you're using a tool like Velociraptor, it will create a zip file with all those directory copies, as does Cape. So there's a number of situations where you may end up working with this sort of file system copy. And now let's dive into a demo. As always, we start with Add New Host, and this time we're selecting logical files. We need to enter a host name and then select the directory that contains our file system, or that's a collection of files we want to look at. Giving you an example here of what it looks like if you choose a directory that doesn't contain that Windows file system, and you can see here you get a warning that that Windows subfolder was not identified. Here we go to the files directory and we can see the contents of a normal Windows C drive or system drive structure, and that's quite happily accepted by Cyber Triage. Then it's just a matter of going through and selecting what artifacts you want to look at. We're on a file system, just go with everything, and same with uploading those files to Reversing Labs for analysis. Then the ingest kicks off and we're able to start our investigation.